Let's go ahead and call the Wednesday, January 10th, 2018 regular board meeting of the Yosemite Community College District Board of Trustees to order. And we'll now move on to, hold on, let me find my place here. Report out from closed session. We have no items to report out from closed session. And we'll now do the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. If you'd all please stand. Okay, we'll now have a moment for everyone to review the minutes of the November 7th, 2017 board study session. And after you reviewed that, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Chair, there was a request on 1.3, correction on the votes to switch abstain to noes on both resolutions that are listed.
The December 13th regular meeting of the Board of Trustees. We're on, thank you, we're on the study session right now, so we'll come back to that in just a second. Was there a motion?
I move we approve the minutes.
So there's a motion by Trustee DeMartini for approval of the study session minutes. Do we have a second? Second by Trustee Rojas. Is there any further discussion? Hearing or seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. We'll now move on to item 3.4, the minutes of the December 13th regular meeting of the Board of Trustees, and we do have some corrections.
As I stated on 1.3, the resolutions listed yeses and abstentions and changing the abstentions to noes.
Okay, very much.
I have another question for you, Graciela. On those minutes, 1.1, didn't the meeting start at 3:30 instead of 4:25?
Yes.
Okay, so we'll make that change too then.
So with those three corrections, give everyone a moment to review the minutes or entertain a motion at this time to approve as amended. Motion made by Trustee Rojas. Is there a second? Second by Trustee Viss. Any further discussion? Hearing or seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. We'll now move on to item 3.5, public comments. I have not received any cards indicating no cards received, but this is an open process. So is there anyone who would like to address the board on any item that is not on the agenda? Okay. Moving straight in now to the board committee reports. Item 4.1, Board Policy Committee.
Thank you, Chairman Garrett. The Board Policy Committee met yesterday, and we went over some of the policies that we will address later on the agenda. We had only one very tiny change to make in what was proposed, but we did have the ability to spend a great deal of time at that meeting on due policy. And our attorney, Meredith Brown, came, and she has offered some proposals that we can add to our policies, some suggestions at this point that would ensure a more equitable and fair way of treating all employees, all people connected with the Yosemite Community College District with due process rights. And I'm very excited about what she's proposed. I'm also thankful for some of the people that attended and offered comments. It was very helpful. So I think we had a very good meeting yesterday.
Okay, thank you, Ann. And it's not on the agenda, but there was no Finance Committee report. We did not meet. We'll meet again in February. So we'll move on now to item 5.1, constituency reports. Student Senate activity reports.
Thank you. with the week leading up into our final days of the semester, both faculty, staff, and students were very occupied with finals. We ended on a very strong note, however, it was rather uneventful. But in the time of this week, our student government has organized multiple events involving both staff, teachers, and students as a welcome week with lots of food available, lots of games going on. We very much have the Oak Pavilion pack the pavilion night tonight, where we will be very much encouraging our basketball team. I'm supporting them from afar.
Evening. Thank you. I'd just like to say it's great to be back. I hope you all had a wonderful break. Our team has been preparing for our semester to begin. We attended a training by our advisor creating critical thinking leadership activities that help us work together as a team. Our training opened perspective and insight on true importance of teamwork. This month we have a couple of upcoming events, such as our upcoming basketball game as well. We also have our MLK event on January 20th of this month. We have Dolores Huerta as our guest speaker, so that's pretty exciting. Lastly, we have our Club Rush on the 24th and on the 25th on East Campus and on West, and we will also be having our first flow on East Campus during Club Rush, so that's pretty exciting. Yeah. So do you guys have any questions?
Any questions? Oh, sounds great. Oh, there we
Yes.
go.
I wanted to ask you, when does the student government meet at MJC? What is the day and time?
We have our Senate meetings the first and third Friday of every month between 3 o'clock to 5 o'clock, and it's usually in our cafeteria.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on now to the faculty representative to the board, Alan.
Last meeting, I mentioned that the Voter Education and Registration Committee of the CEP was beginning an effort to greatly enhance the participation of our students as voters and to prepare them to do so. As I heard the reference to critical thinking, that's always music to my ears. As critically thinking informed voters, participation in this and plans are developing. And I wanted to take the opportunity to thank President Stearns for sending us a link to the Chancellor's Office efforts along these lines. I mean, that's helpful, and it's part of what's going on. Also, I appreciate Trustee DeMartini's reference to the meeting yesterday of the Policy and Procedures Committee. I've talked to a number of faculty members who were there, and we think it was a very, very positive step in something that's been contentious in the past, but it looks like reasonable people may be able to work something out here. And I want to thank that committee and the board for their ongoing interest in that issue, on that issue. And so, are there any questions I could answer?
Any questions for Alan? No, thank
you very much.
Thank you, Alan. Thank you very much. No academic Senate report from Curtis. That just means that Columbia has more time.
That means I can start out with a joke, right?
Go for it.
All right. Why do mummies really like the holidays? Mummies, M-U-M-M-I-E-S. They love
They're
all.
wrapped up in Christmas tree ornaments.
You got all the wrapping.
Yeah.
They love all the wrapping. So, because we've been on break mostly, I don't have a lot to report, but I did want to let you know we did have our adjunct in service, and we had about 40 adjuncts come the Wednesday night before classes started. And the way we started doing our adjunct nights is we have a series of breakouts that they can choose from. And this time our mental health coordinator came, and most everybody rotated through that and really learned some resources we have to help students with their mental wellness, which lots of research shows us that that's something they struggle with and can help and can prevent them from completing semesters. So we feel like our faculty are becoming more trained with how to work with students and their mental health. And we've also got a dozen faculty headed to Merced College this Friday for an active learning conference. So we're taking a van down and participating in that conference. We're excited about that. And that pairs nicely with our other initiative we have going on this semester, which is our peer observation pool. We've got 10 faculty who have signed up to spend at least 3 hours observing 3 other faculty teach and to give each other feedback. And we were going to just have one cohort of 5, but we had so many people interested. We've got 2 cohorts of 10. And we've also got a couple of teaching test kitchen labs. So we've got one group that is focused on working with students about the science of learning and how that feeds into how they study. And that group is kind of, I'm part of that group. So we're going to work out throughout the semester, and in the fall, in the in-service, we're hoping to give a report back and give some insights from what we learned to our peers. And the other group is working with distance education. That's my report. Do you have any questions? That's all I've got.
Wow. That's
Ooh, a dare.
in there, yeah. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And just like other parts of our community, the flu has taken a hold here at our higher ed community, and so there will be no report from LTAC, there will be no report from YFA, and no report from CSEA. So see, that's why I said you had plenty of time to really, you could have did your war cry and all that, so it's, we'll now move on to item 5.2, which is activities and announcements. Usually it's Modesto Junior College. Jill is not with us this evening. She has the excitement of planning her son's wedding. So we are happy for her and glad she's not here so she can enjoy that instead of a regular board meeting. But we have Vice President Hamilton to fill in for her, correct?
Yes,
Wonderful.
thank you. Good evening. I have a letter to read on behalf of President Stearns and then a few activities to update you. Dear Board of Trustees, the quiet of the campus today lies in sharp contrast to the energy and activity that will arrive with the launch of the spring semester on Monday. With final numbers still to be determined, the fall FTES, as tracked by fiscal services, has risen above last year's total by 1 FTES. We celebrate it, 1. You may recall from the presentation at the December Board of Trustees meeting that MJC had been tracking 50 FTES below the prior fall. The gap was closed as attendance hours were submitted by faculty. The shift of English for Life and Work, a segment of what was previously English as a second language, from a credit to a non-credit instructional model, and an increase in non-credit supervised tutoring increased the positive attendance reported at the end of the term. The MJC executive team and the deans are monitoring spring registration closely and making schedule adjustments to meet the demands of students. As a quick aside, in our dean team meetings, we do talk about FTES, but we recognize that that's an administrative kind of fiscal terminology. Really what counts for our students is speaking in terms of access, because really what matters to them, when we increase FTES, we're actually opening up access to the classes. And so we like using that term now because it's more student-oriented. Accreditation. On January 11th, 2018, Vice President of Student Services and Accreditation Liaison Officer, Dr. James Todd, will deliver a statement to the Commission on my behalf. Our scheduled appointment falls on the afternoon of the day prior to my son Cameron's wedding, and thus provides James a professional growth opportunity. At my recent team chair training, colleagues shared that there has been a transformation of the presentation experience. One CEO who presented a statement in the fall reported it was a positive and helpful experience, a far cry from what he had encountered at a prior commission meeting. I have drafted the MJC statement and am working with James to refine before collaborating with President Fairchild and Chancellor Young to ensure consistency of message from all YCCD representatives. We have progress to report in addressing each of the recommendations and look forward to this final opportunity to denote the alignment of practices at MJC with the standards, all within our allotted 5 minutes. Guided Pathways. In February, MJC representative will attend the third of 6 California Guided Pathways Institutes. To complete our preparation for the third and final gathering of year 1, Guided Pathways will be the focus of our Institute Day presentations and lunch convening. A newly formed Pathways Implementation Team, or PIT crew, stands as our core planning group. The faculty, classified professionals, and administrators serving on the PIT crew look forward to having student representatives join the conversation. The major task before us this spring is the determination of organization of instructional programs into meta majors or career academic clusters or pathways. By any of the aforementioned names, MJC needs to determine which programs make sense to be grouped together and share a common first term recommended course enrollment. The goal is to create a no-harm class schedule that will allow students to move from one program to another within the meta major without loss of momentum toward completion. It is certain that the discussions will be lively, challenging, and inspiring. We have learned from colleges further along in the process 2 very important facts to keep in mind while doing this work. First, it does not have to be perfect. Expect this work to be in process and give it a try without pressure to get it right out of the gate. Second, students see the relationships between instructional programs differently than do faculty or any college employee. Be open to student suggestions and allow programs to live in more than one meta major. The PIT crew is taking the responsibility of broad campus engagement seriously, and I'm very pleased with the creative ideas for increasing participation. While Friday afternoons are the most open segment of our weekly schedule, the attendance at the Paving the Path work sessions had not met expectations. The Academic Senate has moved their executive team meetings to allow us to use the Thursday afternoons opposite of Senate meetings for the Paving the Path work to build participation among the Senate representatives. What a great way to increase faculty opportunity to join the dialogue. I look forward to meeting with you next week. Warm regards, Jill Stearns. There are a few upcoming events that we would like to make you aware of. One is the Pencils to Pixel Art Gallery Show, which opens on January 9th and is going until February 1st. And this is the product of various artists working with MJC graduate. It was already mentioned, our Martin Luther King Jr. commemoration will be Dolores Huerta. She will be speaking. We encourage everyone to attend January 20th at 7 p.m. in the Performing Arts and Media Center. There will be a science talk offered through our MAPS program called Fear and Food in the Amazon. It's about understanding how and why birds eavesdrop on each other in the rainforest. So I didn't know that birds eavesdropped, so learn something new every day. Next, Eric Mackey, the director of our bands for MJC, will host a junior high and high school music festival, and this is a wonderful outreach program to our high school area partners, hoping to connect with them and encourage their students to join us here at MJC. The MJC Ag program presents a beef cattle jackpot show. And this will be the 8th annual show in Motown Winter Classic, January 27th and 28th. The steer show begins at 11 on in the morning, January 27th, and the heifer show begins at 10 a.m. on January 28th. They both take place in the Ace Pavilion on West Campus. There will be a theater performance called Church and State, January 25th through 27th, and then some other dates in February, and these are on our calendar on the website. Our off-balance dancers will perform, and we will have our spring speech night. As you can tell, we are quite busy on campus, and this doesn't even bring into account the athletic programs that we have doing various sporting events. So we welcome your attendance at any and all of these events. Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer.
I just have one comment.
Yes.
I guess when you're a college president, you have the ability to phrase things that making a presentation is a gift. I'm sure James Todd would agree, right?
I think we call that being voluntold. Yes.
We'll now move on to President Fairchild and a report out from Columbia College.
And Trustee Martin, we do indeed look forward to giving those professional development opportunities to our vice presidents and deans as frequently as we can. It's our job to grow the leaders who are coming behind us.
I'm glad to hear it.
So I've given you several of activities. It's already been mentioned, Welcome Week activities, and Monday morning we welcomed the students, and it was just pouring with rain, and they were rushing from their cars to somewhere dry. Didn't dampen the spirit though. The Manzanita building was full at times of people coming in for their cocoa and their career exploration, and so those activities happened all week. It was mentioned, Pack the Pavilion tonight that we're missing. There's a competition between the faculty and the students to see who can cheer the loudest. And I have obtained assurance that in the fall, there will be a similar event for the volleyball team and to show the spirit for our lady claim jumpers as well. So hopefully the guys do well tonight. The activities, Aaron spoke about adjunct in-service, and then we had Flex Day last week and in-service. And the discussions that we're having now, that our faculty and staff and administrators are having together is all about student success. It's about student success. What can we do to get the students into the classroom? Jennifer mentioned access. What can we do to keep the students in the classroom, help them be successful, support their work outside of the classroom, and then get them through their programs? And of course, the state is helping us create that vision with the guided pathways. And so part of the work that was done last Friday as part of our Flex Day was that the faculty got together to try to map out a 2-year course schedule, based on the degrees and certificates that we have, and so and diagrammed out how a student could move through in that 2-year time frame. And so, this is an extension of us improving our scheduling practices, and I think that kind of dialogue, and Brian sent me an update on Saturday about it, and I could tell the excitement that he felt in being present in those discussions and just seeing it roll out, being faculty driven, but so focused on the students, and I sense that across the district, and I'm really proud of that. Big day tomorrow. Crew of us are going, as you heard, to San Jose to sit in front of the commission. I heard from our team chair today, and later tonight he is going to send me a copy of his comments. He wanted to touch base with me, and he said, because he wanted to say me to know and not be surprised that he's going to talk about how wonderful the Columbia College is and how well we are working towards the improvements, and that there was evidence that the work had already started on things that we'd identified in the ISA, and he wanted to make sure that that was recognized. I really appreciate that. So the whole tone of the experience has been much different this time, and so there's not a fear factor or an intimidation factor of going and sitting with the commission tomorrow on my part. So hopefully I'll feel the same way when on the drive home. But they'll have their poker faces on, I'm sure. And then, of course, next month you will see my name on that matrix under retirement. I've already made my announcement, and those of you in the room that don't know, I'm retiring at the end of June. So we'll make it more formal next month. That's my report.
Well, I know we'll have more to talk about next month, but you'll be missed. But we'll celebrate more next month. How's that? Okay. Okay, we'll move on now to item 5.4, presentation updates from our chancellor.
Good evening. I want to begin by expressing my thanks to the faculty, the professional support staff, and administrators for a smooth kickoff to the semester. Unfortunately, I was not able to be here with you, so I had my message in a video. There's a poor substitute to being in person, but at least I wanted you to know that I appreciate your work, and to be sure, our students appreciate your work too, because they're all counting on us to help them successfully exit. Even though we love them, and we would like to serve them, but we really don't want them to stay with us forever. Right? We want to help them on the shortest, fastest path to transfer or to employment. And so the spring semester is especially important in that light. So I want to recognize, all who have contributed to the success of our students. You have heard from President Fairchild. Tomorrow morning, I will be joining her at the ACCJC commissioners meeting. I will speak to the part pertaining to the recommendations about the central office of district. And we want to present a clear picture to the commissioners that we are progressive, that we are always looking for opportunities to improve ourselves so that we can do a better job of serving our students and our constituencies. And with that, I conclude my report. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll move on now to item 5.5, the bond update, the Citizen Bond Oversight Committee 2016-2017 annual report. There'll be no actual presentation on the report. I'm sure all of you would love to see the Measure E bond report. Curtis is nodding in the affirmative. But the report speaks for itself. I believe it's on our website. It's also available, it's been made available to all of the Board of Trustees. So with that, does any of the Board of Trustees have any comments with respect to the report? Okay, and it's just an information item, correct, Graciela? Okay. So unless there's any questions or comments, we'll move on. We'll move on now to item 5.6, grant activity update. So does anyone have any comments, any report? I don't think, again, it's just.
But just wasn't put in our packets. That's
Right.
the only comment I'd make, but I looked
Right.
at it online.
So, again, it's just an information item, so if there's no comments, we'll now move straight into item 6, action items on the consent agenda. And we have items 6.2 through 6.13. And does any member of the board wish to pull any item from the consent agenda?
Actually, I do have one correction. It's item 6.11, the personnel table. And on page 3, short-term appointment list, we need to remove Carrie Adams, Student Services Representative, Financial Services. We're going to pull that one off.
Okay, so with that correction, and again, that was 6.11. So with that correction to item 6.11, do you still make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented with that correction? Okay, moved by Trustee Rojas, second by Trustee Viss. Any further discussion? Seeing or hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. So give me a moment here. It's moving quite rapidly this evening, which is very nice. So we'll now move on to item 7, action items for discussion. 7.1, the CCCT Board of Directors nominations for 2018. So in your packet, you were provided some materials with respect to the nomination process for that group. And I guess I'll throw it out to my fellow trustees. Does anyone feel so inclined as to nominate themselves or, heaven forbid, nominate someone else for that?
Nope.
I'm getting the shake of the heads and the
no from
negatives,
this
so
side.
no? Okay.
It says no.
So just an information item only to take action if we were so inclined, correct? All right. Move on now to item 7.2, trustee vacancy in trustee area number 7. We were provided some materials this evening.
We should advertise to have someone appointed for approximately 10 months, and then we would have them either run for the election for the following 2 years or open it up to anyone that would like to be elected to that position for the remainder of the 2 years that John Rodriguez had.
Right. So for those of you that have not had a chance to review this material, what the board is considering, we've had the board has been notified that the current trustee in Area 7, John Rodriguez, has resigned his position effective last month. There is a process by which, as soon as we're notified, we have 60 days in which to take action from the date of the notice. And we have some options before us. We can hold a special election. There would be 2 opportunities within the calendar year to hold a special election. Obviously, there is an immense cost with that. And under the statutes, even though we would hold a special election, my understanding is they would still have to run again in the general election in November to then fill the, so you would have a cost for the special election and then another cost in November to then fill the unexpired 2 years remaining on the term. So that's a Reader's Digest version of what we're discussing here at the dais. So both trustee Rojas and trustee Viss have indicated that we will advertise a position in various media outlets to let the public know of any interested party that would like to serve. And then the board would then look at those and then make an appointment. Ann, do you have any comment?
Well, I'd just like to move that the Board of Trustees decide to fill the vacancy by appointment and adopt schedule dates as appropriate.
Okay, so we've had a motion to make an appointment as outlined in our policy in the relevant statute. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, there's a second by trustee Martin. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. We'll move on now to item 7.3, Basic Skills Initiative, or BSI, Student Equity, or SE, and Student Success and Support Program, SSP, Integrated Plan. And who is going to present that to the board? Or is that an information item that was included in our packet? There's a lot of hard work I know went into this, so I'm sure someone has been identified to talk or given that educational opportunity, right?
Yes, good evening. And due to Dr. James Todd not being here, he has asked me, my name is Florida Arias, and I'm the Dean of Student Services, to read a couple of items that that has to do with obviously the executive summary and what is it that we're trying to move towards within the integrated plan. So let me just read here. The Basic Skills Initiative, Student Equity, and Student Success and Support Program Integrated Plan has led an effort to integrate 3 programs, BSI, SE, and SSP. These programs were selected as a starting point for integrative efforts for 2 main reasons. 1, all 3 have the same ultimate goal of increasing student success while closing achievement gaps. Second, there is a strong potential for overlap between and among the programs. So in order to secure funding for these programs, our college must submit an integrated plan, and using the template that has been provided by the State Chancellor's Office. I believe you have had an opportunity to look at the plan. We are, at this point, part of the plan was a report out on our goals that we worked in the previous plan, and it had to do with access, access to courses, access for students to come onto our campus. It also had to do with course completion, course success rates, basic skills, transfer, and transfer velocity. For this new integrated plan, we have various integrated goals. One is clarifying the pathways, because we are part of a pathway initiative or grant. Help students enter pathways, help students stay on their pathway, ensure students that are learning, institutionalize equity and success-centered practices. We have had several successful starts. One has to do with acceleration. Various courses in English, we have shortened the track beginning with students starting in basic skills. Instead of having 3 courses taken for students to enroll below transfer, they can now take 1 class, which is English 45, which takes 2 levels below transfer, and within 1 year, they're already taking a transfer course. I believe we did a report out at the end of last year. The same thing has happened also with math, with doing the non-credit. We call it Math Emporium. There are also other programs that have begun. One has been Emoja, that has had a focus for African American students. We have been able to close the gap in some of our areas for our African American population. We have some work to do within our Hispanic population. We have not been able to close those gaps, but again, we have had some great starts, and as we are creating more opportunities for faculty to receive further training through the Center of Urban Education, and also along with that with reading apprenticeship across all disciplines. We're really trying to look at our student holistically, along with intrusive advising. Counselors now are a direct liaison to different academic areas, where it's the intention to meet the student where they are. And it's become, if you will, sort of kind of like case management. We are intentional about how we treat our student from the moment we meet them, either at the high school, at a community event, to during the time that they get on the path, and clarifying their major, and having various contacts through different momentum points from 0 to 15 units. There's different goals for those students that are also at the 16 to 30th unit phase, and then 31 through 45 unit. So these contacts are intentional and directed with their declared goal, whether they're going to be graduating and going on to the workforce, or graduating and transferring. So it's really about redesigning not only just student services, but also what happens in the classroom. Does anybody have any questions?
No, we look forward to celebrating your successes.
Yes.
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on now to item 7.4, the 2017 through 2019 Integrated Plan, Columbia.
Excuse me.
Oh, we have to vote?
Yes, if you could
Oh,
vote on items. 7.3, that would be great.
thank you, Abe. So we have a motion by Abe to adopt 7.3. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Trustee Martin. Any further discussion? Hearing or seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Now we'll move on to 7.4. Sorry about that.
No problem. Good evening. I'm Melissa Raby, Vice President of Student Services at Columbia College. And you have the plan in front of you, but I just want to point out that at the kind of the onset of all of these individual programs that came through the state, Columbia had been doing an integrated plan from the get-go. And in fact, this particular integrated plan is kind of a small portion of what we're doing with our integrated planning. And you've heard from us before with the Student Success Council, and you've seen the matrix that we're doing that kind of incorporates not just some of these things here, but also the Adult Basic Education Grant, the Strong Workforce Grant, and will be included guided pathways. And so, you know, we're too small to have separate different committees to tackle all of these things. So we've been doing the integrated plan from the very beginning for many, many years. So when this came out, it was kind of like an exercise, again, a small piece of what the Student Success Council is doing. And this particular plan just wants you to identify just a few things that you're doing. So it's not a comprehensive, all-inclusive integrated plan, but this is what the state asked for. So we've put together some of the things highlighted that we felt that we're doing very well, but as I said, it does not include every initiative that we're doing to address the student support and success of our students. With that, do you have any questions about the plan in particular?
I don't have any questions, but I've been away from Columbia for 8 years, and when I was there, it seemed like we were doing this. So, yeah, congratulations. Good work.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Any further questions?
I have a comment, and that is that we, for some reason, the budget that goes along with the plan did not get uploaded with the item, but that was the handout that you received.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
I have one question, just the first page says that it was due December 1st. Is that going to be a problem?
No, the state extended the deadline.
Okay, good.
Yeah, we had all intentions of bringing this to the board in December.
And it got pulled, I think.
But when they extended the deadline, we felt that we could use the extra time for further discussion before we submitted
Great,
it.
thank you.
Thank you very much. So the recommended action that the Board of Trustees approve the integrated plan for 2017-2019 as attached to our agenda. So is there a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Trustee Martin. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Trustee Rojas. Any further discussion? Seeing or hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Move on now to item 7.5, Citizens Bond Oversight Committee membership. So the recommended action is that the Board of Trustees appoint the following individual to serve on the YCCD Citizen Bond Oversight Committee for a 2-year term. Dorothy Winkie of the Taxpayers Association, and this will be her second term. Okay, so we have a motion by Trustee DeMartini. Is there a second? Second. Second by Trustee Viss. Any further discussion? Hearing or seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. We will now move on to item 7.6, Board Policy, second reading, and I see Connie waiting in the wings over there. Yep.
Good evening, everyone, Board, Chancellor, Cabinet. We did have, as Trustee DeMartini reported, a Board Policy Committee meeting yesterday, and so we are looking at second readings from last month. We had no additional revisions requested. To present to you this evening, we do have one 4030 that needs board direction, however, to look at that language and let us know how you'd like to proceed. So if you'd like to go to that one, 4030, Academic Freedom Faculty, you'll see that there's a note there. So we're looking at lines 25 and 26 or lines 31 and 32. And so I just need the direction from the board as to which way you would like to go on that.
Well, Connie, my preference was that we go with lines 31 and 32.
I would agree to that.
And Leslie, who's not here tonight because her mother is in the hospital, also agreed to that. That's the committee.
Okay, so this would be, tonight, we're looking for a vote. And so what I'm thinking is that the vote would be to approve the second reading policies with the selection of lines 31 and 32, which will read, when faculty members speak or write as citizens, care should be taken to avoid the representation of any personal view as that of the district or its colleges.
That's a perfect motion. No. Everyone understand that? Okay,
So moved?
so
We
moved.
need a motion to do that? If we do, so moved.
Okay.
Second?
Motion by trustee Martin, second by trustee DeMartini, who are two of our representatives on the Policy and Procedure Committee, so thank you. Any further discussion? Hearing or seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. So we'll now move on to item 7.7, Board Policy, first reading. Back to Connie.
Thank you. We have two up for first reading this evening. And so 4130 work experience, there were no recommended revisions. And 4110, there was a recommended revision not to the policy, but to the administrative procedure. The policy states that the names of persons receiving honorary degrees must be approved by the board. And in the procedure, to help clarify that leap, how does it get to the board? On line 15, I'll start on 14, the president, after collegial consultation with the academic senate, will submit recommendations. And so the recommended addition there is to the chancellor. So now we can see the breadcrumbs leading up to it. The president would receive a nomination, they would consult collegially with the academic senates, and then those recommendations would go to the chancellor and then by policy be approved by the board. So that was the one recommended revision.
So does anybody have any comments, changes they'd like to make, or what you see is okay? And then we'll move it on to the, bring it back for second reading, correct? Okay,
Thank you.
looks like we have some direction. Okay. So we'll now move on to, I didn't get, I think it's item 8, board comments. So we may be on record here for a good, quick meeting here. I'm getting good nods and smiles from the audience. 6 minutes, okay, all right, here we go. Our student representative.
Well, thank you, board. I hope you guys all had a very wonderful break, and I'd like to extend that to the rest of the group here. Hello. And I have no further comments.
Excellent. You're grasping the concept here. So we'll move on to Trustee Martin.
I had the opportunity to meet with the Columbia College president, Angie, and attended the P&P meeting by phone at Columbia College. And I attended the retirement party for Teresa, which was bittersweet. And I attended the Fire Academy graduation at Columbia College. And I attended the Columbia College in-service day. And I have to say, I wish the rest of the board could have been there to hear the sabbatical reports from Dr. Tolhurst and Von Epps. They were an awesome representation of why we have sabbatical reports, and I'm sure that both of them will be better instructors because of the opportunity that the district gives with sabbatical reports. And I have a little joke if we have time at the end for cat lovers. Do we have any cat people in the audience? Okay, so the people go up to the pearly gates and they ask St. Peter, why are the cats all standing out here? Why, you let dogs in, why didn't you let cats? And he says, well, we open the door and they say, are you coming in? Or are you going out? Are you coming in? Or are you going out? Coming in? Out. The cats cannot. You have to be a cat person to
Oh,
get
yeah.
this joke.
Yes, absolutely. Abe?
Oh, skipped everybody. I attended the nurse painting that was held at MJC. It's always rewarding to listen to the accomplishments and all the effort they have to go through to acquire that pending degree. I also attended Teresa Scott's retirement recognition. I attended a Bethesda Junior College athletic event. I was able to come to Jan retirement, and I also attended Institute Day from Bethesda Junior College.
Wonderful. Thank you, Abe. Don?
I have been on a kick last month. I ran into a young lady who was 18 years old. She did not drive, and she said, I would like to attend MJC, but I can't get there. So I began to wonder, and I talked to my family, and my daughter-in-law said she rode a bus from Oakdale to MJC for 2 years. And my wife, Sharon, had done the same thing from Waterford. And I was wondering if it would be feasible, I don't know this, to begin a transportation system to the population centers, Turlock and Patterson, and I think that was done in previous years. I can't find anybody that knew very much about it. So I talked to Don Davis, the superintendent in Waterford, and he said he didn't know, but he thinks between 50 and 70 kids from Waterford go to MJC. But he didn't know if they got there. They said they were going. So he's going to run a survey to see what kind of interest there would be in transportation. And then I talked to Christy Rappenchuk in Oakdale. She's some kind of a honcho there. And she is going to run that survey to find out what kind of interest there would be from Oakdale. There are a lot of iffies there. We don't know what the cost would be, and on and on and on. But there is a possibility that we could increase our FTES and also provide a public service if we could do that. I'd be interested in comments.
I hate to give my age away, but in 56 and 57, there was a bus that originated in Livingston, stopped in Turlock Series, and transported us to Bethesda Junior College.
So you rode one?
To and from. I rode on it when I was out of gas.
Yes, sir.
Star.
Do they run on schedules compatible with classes? That,
Yes. Yes.
okay, well, I'll follow up on that.
Trustee Viss, I'll send you the link to the information, and that way you can forward it to the young lady and to the schools
Okay, that'll work.
for the start information.
Yeah, if they do it, that means we don't have to spend the money on it.
Yeah, it's already being done, and there's schedules from the outlying areas that come to the Modesto Transportation Center downtown, and then there's a feeder bus that comes over here, and it's totally free for Modesto Junior College students.
Free's one of my favorite things. Okay, do that, will you, Gina? All right.
Thank you, Don. Ann?
I attended the respiratory care graduation. I am on the committee that's working on selecting the board's legal counsel, and we had a meeting and reduced the number. We selected who we want to interview. I attended the monthly Great Valley Museum meeting, the MJC Institute Day, the board policy committee meeting yesterday, and met with the chancellor yesterday.
Okay. I attended the retirement reception for Teresa Scott and another one for Jan Mathis, and I want to thank staff. Those were really nice. The people that were there and the dialogue and everything, it was just really nice to see that, so thank you very much. I attended the Citizens Bond Oversight Committee meeting for Measure E. I attended the nurses pinning ceremony. I met multiple times with our chancellor, And I also attended the MJC Institute Day, and I want to give a shout out to Jill Stearns. I'm always impressed how Jill can have a PowerPoint presentation, but then speak to detail about every item that's on there. Because all she has is just the bullet points, and she speaks on detail on every one of those. And I know, Angie, you do the same thing, I know that, but I'm speaking to Jill because I was there, and this is the second time. It's always impressive, so you tell her that. So I appreciate that. And that's all I have, and I know our chancellor has a couple announcements as well.
Thank you. I have two announcements. One of it is a request to save the date, April 6th. There will be a staff recognition dinner at the Jean Bianchi Community Center in Oakdale. So keep that in mind. Second one is nominations for the Board of Governors Annual Classified Employee of the Year Award. So let's look among our peers, and nominations will be received for this prestigious award. So let's recognize our professional support staff and see if we have individuals that we would like to nominate for this award statewide. Thank you.
Thank you, Chancellor Young. Okay, does anybody have any last thoughts? No, seeing none? Okay, we'll move to adjournment. The next regular meeting of the Board of Trustees will be held on Wednesday, February the 14th, 2018. Closed session will begin at 3:30 p.m., open session at 5:30 in the Yosemite Community College District Boardroom located at 2201 Blue Gum Avenue. Thank you all for being here. Meeting adjourned.
So fast I got whiplash.